Greetings. This is Skyler Saunders seeing what's current. Now today is a little bit of a mix-up, or a little bit of a change-up, I should say. Usually I do stories about hip hop and things like that nature, what's going on in the world of rap and the hip hop genre, or some people like to call it a culture. It's within the bounds of hip hop because hip hop has a fascination with sports, and that's what I'm planning on talking about for the next few minutes. Um, it's a case. It's a serious investigation that just stopped. Eric Lewis, a referee for the NBA, was caught up in I would call it a scandal, I guess, of sorts. He was there's no allegedly. I think it's pretty much all on the table. He had been he retired amid investigation that the NBA was doing into his Twitter accounts. He had a burner account, quote unquote, or account that you can just use as an alias or another person and try not to get tracked. Well, he was tracked. They were actually in the process of getting him for his apparent use of a different name. Let me see. He it was in violation of the rules of the NBA for him to use a Twitter name. Let me see. I'm trying to find the exact name. He had a name that he used. Blair Cutliff. That was the social media activity that was coming from Blair Cutliff when everybody knows it was Eric Lewis. And so he just up and retired, just said, I'm done. Let me get out before they get me. I'm not going maybe I'll get my pension or wherever they get. They probably maybe they don't get a pension. I'm just speculating here. But he had to get out because he was saying things on social media that were contrary to what he was supposed to be doing, was officiating basketball games for the NBA, for the professional basketball organization of the United States of America and Canada. He his last time that he refed was in May 12th for the Western Conference Championship with the Grizzlies and the Lakers. If let me make sure I got that right, because I know these sports fans roast me. Yeah, let me see. I'm just checking up on something. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so it was when the Lakers defeated the Grizzlies in Game 1 of the Western Conference first round. Now this is the last time they appeared. So it's just a big mess. This is a mess. It goes back to the fact that referees are officials, but sometimes their actions don't speak of that. They don't always match up with what they purport to be, and they have the chance to be actual official people. Within the bounds of being upright and truthful in regard to the game. This goes back again to Tim Donaghy. He was literally betting on games that he was reffing. That's what his whole modus operandi was. This is a referee from the early to mid 2000s, and he was caught red-handed betting on games and showing favoritism or going against other players or players that didn't fit his model, his idealism. Such players were like Allen Iverson. He would call more fouls on him, or wouldn't call fouls against the players that were guarding him, and things of that nature. So fast forward to Eric Lewis, he's retiring only because of the controversy. He would have a longer career. He's about it was about 20 almost 20 years in the league, 19 years. And he had refed for over 1,200 games and 82 postseason games. So he had put in the work. He definitely put in the work. And I remember seeing him on the sideline. I always wonder about the officials. I always wonder about the refs. I always wonder about how much money they make. I always wonder about if they have a favorite team that they can't say that whatever their favorite team is, they can't say it because it probably go against the rules. Well, that's what this Eric Lewis character was doing. He had the burner account in order to voice his ideas and opinions of the game itself, and how he couldn't, he wasn't able to be able to voice them outwardly, as a official. That would be too obvious. That would be, right in the face, and that would be cause for, he wouldn't be able to retire. He'd be fired. He would have been terminated. This burner account gave him the opportunity to say things that he would normally be able to say. This burner account was what he is so special, and it's the on the social media site formerly known as Twitter, X. But this was way before X was even conceived or concocted for the name. This is what back in May, and the NBA had an idea for him to be on par with someone like Tim Donaghy, who committed fraud, and he had a book called regarding fraud in the NBA. And if this is true for the NBA, it's got to be true for the other major sports as well. It's got to be. You look at football, you think, okay, those refs are straight. They're good. They're straight edge. They're right. They're upright and they're righteous. You look at the NHL, the refs are on the ice. Okay, great. There must be wonderful people. You look at, you look at baseball. Umpires. They gotta be on point. They gotta be right. And even other sports like tennis, you see, the tennis players will go up to the line ref and voice their opinion about some things, and see what if they get their way, depending on how, the temperament of whatever the ref says. So Eric Lewis is, he pieced out. He said two deuces to the side, sir. He was out of there. He's getting out before he gets kicked out. That's what he didn't want. Let me make sure about that. Let me make 100% sure. Do referees get pensions in NBA? Yes, they do get pensions. I don't know when. They have retirement plans and travel expenses that they have to, that are covered. It says the National Basketball Association referees pension plans defined benefit plan. This type of plan generally provides participants with a monthly retirement benefit upon reaching a specific age and may be adjusted for early retirement. So early retirement, I think, would be in regard to this particular case. So, Eric Lewis might be kind of, one of the smart ones. He didn't end up like Tom Donaghy. Tom Donaghy served time, like 15 months, something like that. A little over a year. But for somebody that didn't commit a crime, who didn't commit crimes, he just was alleged, or I guess it's not alleged. That's what I'm struggling with. I'm reading the articles, and nobody's saying allegedly or supposedly. They're just saying like he had that burner account. It's like it's common knowledge. He had that account that he was blasting, and it just came to a point where he was saying that he was all about it. He was about that life. He was about that burner life. He wasn't playing around. He was letting them know that I'm going to have this Twitter feed, when it was a Twitter feed and Twitter username, and I'm going to use it, Blair Cutcliffe, and that's going to be that. That's going to be it. That's going to be all is written. I'm going to retire. I'm going to get out of here before y'all get me, and I'm going to get my pension. I think it says of age, not of how many years he played. I thought it was going to be 20 years. He would have had 19 years, but he wouldn't have been able to get that 20th. So it's going to be very interesting this upcoming season. This upcoming season is going to be very, nitpicky. I think it's going to be, what do you got, a burner account? Like, they're going to look at the refs and like they're going to look at the refs and say like, oh, you've been on X. You on X with a burner account? You go. You're gonna be talking about the games, and you're gonna be talking about how you want it this way and you can't have it that way, and all this mess. Is that what's gonna happen? That's what people are going to be wondering, because it goes into the point where he was investigated, but they couldn't find anything because it was too late. They suspended the investigation because he retired. That was the cost. That was his, I guess you can call this his downfall. He's not going out gracefully. This isn't the most graceful exit. This is his way of showing himself as a person that couldn't handle the whole limelight, the high prestige of being an official for the National Basketball Association. That's the worst part about all this. Is that another ref has to go down in flames in a sense, or almost escape, jump out of the plane while it was on fire and had to eject, before it was too late. He has, I don't know if he has a plan after this. He probably is going to write a book. There's probably going to be a movie, playing cards, a ride at Universal Studios, all kinds of stuff that's going to happen, probably in his favor. That happens with, people that are shady, the liars, people like, journalists like Jason Blair and Stephen Glass, and different writers and stuff like that fake the funk and don't tell the truth, or aren't able to take the truth when it comes out. That's the difference between people. And what Eric Lewis has done is just shown another, facet of how the NBA is corrupted by officials. The irony. They're the ones that are supposed to be the paramounts for the law and the justice and they're the hardwood judges and of the game. They are the ones that govern what goes on, what can't go on. And that's the sad part. He didn't understand that. He didn't understand the fact that what he did was wrong. I mean, you can't. That goes against NBA guidelines clearly. You can't talk about games and how you refed and how other people refed and how the players played. That's bias. That's subjectivity. You can't. You obviously can't do that. But he was doing it. He had his, he took it upon himself to be someone that is not cogent, is not persuasive in his way of doing things. He's not someone that was able to remain and refrain from doing these acts, from committing these acts against, these people, these different players. And all the players that he had are sitting back, eating cornballs, laughing because of the fact that he retired. All the ones that he had a problem with, all the ones that your question is that question his authority and his style of officiating, they're going to come back, with laughter, or not. They may be reserved. They may be like, oh, it's a shame that he went out like that. Too bad. Hit the bricks. Have enjoy the rest of your life. This will always follow you, by the way, no matter what. That's the problem with the sports world. Sports world is humongous, multi-billion-dollar, multi-hundred-billion-dollar, probably trillion-dollar industry worldwide. But in America, it's hundreds of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars for these major sport leagues: the MLB, the NHL, the NFL, and the NBA. And they all have official people that govern and officiate all the games. You can't if you have a game with no referees, you have a pickup game, and then you have to decide on rules by yourself, and it wouldn't even be a game to watch. Really, you wouldn't be amazed. It wouldn't be the same feeling unless you want to go to somewhere like Rucker Park, where I think they still have referees. They may be lenient, but the game is totally different with referees. You have to have some semblance of order on the court, on the ice, on the field. That's what you have to have. You have to have some sense of it. They're the guardians of reason on games and in the boxing ring. The ref, if there was no ref, there'd just be two guys beating the crap out of each other. They're just beating the shit out of each other. If there was no ref, you got to have a ref. Refs are important. They may not be the spectacle. You ain't saying, "Oh, my favorite ref, the greatest ref of all time, the GOAT ref." I mean, that's hard that comes up in conversation. The GOAT ref, he's the greatest ref of all time. I swear he is. That doesn't usually register. That nobody really understands who they are or what they are unless you're really deep in the game and like by their first name and last name and how many years they played, how many games they refereed. That's what I'm talking about. That's the difference, that is made with each person that comes along with this specific case. He had his chance. He had a run. He had a good run. 19 years is a good run. I mean, for any player or referee, he definitely showed his hand. Okay, so he came under controversy back in May, almost to the date in May when the NBA opened the investigation, and he wanted to defend himself and other NBA referees. So he just said, "You know what? I'm done. Let me get out of here before the house burns down, before they revoke my my standing, my pension." This is another black man going down. That's what is sad. Sad to see another black man going down because of the controversy. That's really sad. He had so it's from 2005 to 2023. So that's 18 years, almost 19 years, almost 20 years actually. So that's just a shame. And it's and again, we're gonna have to look at the referees in a different light again. All over in every sport, because they're not perfect. They should be morally perfect, but they aren't morally perfect. We have a notion that says that hey, they got stripes on them. They know the rules and regulations of each game and how it's played. So they must have some kind of moral standing and backbone and integrity that most people do not possess. They are special. They are the ones that can decide a game, literally. They can say whether this point was accepted or if it wasn't, if they stepped on the line, if they went out of bounds, whatever the case may be. They're the ones that say it. We don't know who they are. They're almost like phantoms on the field, but they're present. You know what happens when you have a call against you. Football. The was is claimed as the sport of the world. Football. They have cards. They have yellow card and red card and all kinds of things like that. They can decide whole games. They can show the way completely or incompletely, depending on whatever happens. That's the trick to all this. Eric Lewis is not alone. There's got to be. If there's all these referees, they just have one guy that has a burner account. Really? You're telling me that there's not another referee that has a burner account in all the NBA and all the NFL and all the MLB and all the NHL? No other referees have some secret account on TikTok or well, you're not gonna have it on TikTok most likely, but you're not gonna be dancing and saying like, "Oh, if I had the different way of officiating, I would have had this," or whatever the case may be. But like they're on Facebook or Threads or Instagram or whatever the case may be with a burner account. It's ironic again because the burner account is supposed to be a place where you're not tracked. Well, they tracked him, so it's a little ironic. The thing is, one thing it didn't match up with the other, didn't add up. So with Eric Lewis, it's a sad shame, but hey, another Negro going down, and that is sad. He should be respected. He should have been, regarded in the sense of anyone else. He should have been somebody that didn't have to force his retirement just to avoid an investigation and controversy. That shouldn't have happened. He should have had more wits and more fortitude about him in order to be someone that has the class and the understanding and the sophistication of being a referee for the NBA. That's the basis of all of this. His name shouldn't have been in the papers or websites or zines or blogs, rags for being, controversial and a controversial light that he, sparked. He sparked that light. He continued with it, and he brought about himself, self-inflicted wound. My drill instructor used to say about, self-inflicted wounds. You hurt yourself. He hurt himself, Eric Lewis. He didn't have to go out like this. He didn't have to, choose to be someone that is against all that is proper and moral and virtuous. We're all, struggling. Well, I'll say I struggle with virtue and morals and righteousness. But I continue on with the idea that I'm always correct those immoralities and those vices. I will be someone of character and of power over my abilities and my mind. That's what, sadly, Eric Lewis lacked. He didn't have the power over his mind to think about the fact that he would have to retire almost forcibly to the point where he had to stay and understand what he had to do was retire. Not by, choice, but basically on whim, really. And the fact that he, to stop the bleeding, to stop the bad news from, going out into the press again, he just said, "You know what? I'm out. Throw up my hands. I'm good. Thanks for all the memories. It's been real." And like I said, they're going to dog him. Some players are going to dog him. Some players are going to be like, sad to see you go. Hopefully you get better. God bless and all that. Appeals to mysticism and the unknown, the unknowable. That's where we are right now in this culture. We have to have an outlet, and now it's his outlet, and it went against the guidelines, went against the rules. More irony. Somebody that's a purveyor of rules and regulations steps out of bounds. Sorry for the pun, but does something that is completely anathema to those rules and regulations of the NBA. And anyone that would say that he is going to make a comeback, I would say so. He's going to. Tim Donaghy already did. He's doing pro wrestling now. Maybe it's not as much prestige as the NBA, but he's doing a sector of the pro wrestling circuit. So Eric Lewis is good. He's going to have a book deal, like I said, a television special, playing cards, all that. He's going to be fine. Even though he's a black man. Black man in America still going to have a chance. They'll give him another chance. People weren't, people like O.J. Simpson, another sports figure, beat a double murder case. Beat that. Then went to jail for stealing his own stuff, allegedly. Apparently, it was convicted. And people are giving him another chance. They're saying, "Yeah, go OJ, go. This is juice, yeah, whatever." But what I'm saying is, we have to be wary and we have to be careful about all these referees. Every last one of them. Who's on the take? Who's got the burner account? Who's betting on games? Who's doing all of these things that they shouldn't be doing, but they find themselves doing it, nevertheless. And that's what is so terrible about, this multi-hundred billion dollar industry, is that we have these referees that are not honest and not honorable. They're totally, misguided, misdirected, and misinformed about virtuous activities and morality. They just think, I'm going to get into this profession, put on a face that I am, a person of higher standards, ethical standards, and that's how it's going to be. That's all I'm going to do. But it doesn't work like that. You got to have the whole armor of reason. I would say the armor of God, but I'm not a mystic. I'm an atheist. So you have to have the whole armor of reason about you and everything that you do. And if you do fall, stumble, whatever the case may be, you can, if it's not an unimpeachable, what am I trying to say here? Hold on. If it's an unimpeachable crime or irredeemable, that's the word. Yeah, look at the words I should say. If it's an irredeemable evil, then that's okay. It can be resolved. If it's a redeemable evil, then that's all right. That's fine. If it's irredeemable, then it's not fine. You can't escape from an irredeemable evil. And some people just don't understand that. Some people don't get that. Some people don't understand. Maybe Eric Lewis had a spark when he started, but now he's just garbage. He was probably just somebody that, thought he could get into the game, be a referee, stand on the sidelines, blow your whistle, tell about what fouls and who double dribbled and who traveled. All of that. But for now, he's out of here. Eric Lewis, gone from the game, not from life. Not out of here dead, but out of here from the NBA. He won't be refereeing any more games forever. So that's my first take on sports, I think, in my whole career on YouTube. Applaud me. Now, my favorite part, the part that nobody else does, especially not Troy Star Terrain, probably for good reason. I don't have any follower or subscriber. I don't have any viewers right now. I don't have any likes. I have zero. It's been like that for half an hour, but I'm still plowing through because this is the rock bottom that everybody has to go through. This is the rock bottom. This is the pits. This is the hard knocks. This is the part that is not glamorous and shiny, but you still have to do it in order to advance later on in life. So I'm going to continue to fight, even if I have 0 viewers and 0 likes. I saw one person step in and one person step out. That same person step out. Still on 0. So, what do we talk about? Ruler of the kingdom of the air. I hope you're sick of me talking about it. So I'm sick of not having the proper views to justify the fact that this is a hot story. And I've only gotten support from it. Haven't had any negative reviews yet. And I'm welcome to negative reviews. I'm not saying that I don't, won't get them. I'll definitely take them. But I just haven't had any yet. But it takes time and nerve to read this story and have an objective view of it, to have a completely clear-eyed, unbiased perspective. It's something that is very important to me because I just thought of everything that could happen and it just flowed. The flow of it, that's probably my mainstay. I can flow on an essay or a fictional narrative. I have great flow on writing. What can I say? That's how I toot my own horn, pat myself on the back. Not perfect on writing. I have my mistakes. I have my errors. There's flaws in my writing, but I don't look to those. I don't dwell on them. I always try to look for ways to correct them, ways to make them better. But when you see like the credit card that says Della Credit, you'll see, my name and the good through. You'll understand when you read the story. Oh, that's what he did. He put the credit card on there because of that. You'll understand it better by and by. But that's what I'm coming after. That's what I'm, trying to make sure is still apparent. The fact that so many people are not able to understand that it takes time for these things to grow. And that's just so beautiful about Vocal.media. I have to give them credit as well. They have a system where your stories just stay on there forever until they get tossed off, I guess. I don't know. They don't toss off stories. My very first story from 2017, going way back before the pandemic and everything. 2017, first story on there, Life in Production. And I just am so amazed at the fact that I'm able to convey my mind, to present my thoughts in an ordered fashion and get paid for it. That's the best part too, right? All this is getting paid. This is all pay. Everything, the rule of the kingdom of the air, that's pay. All of it. Everything that goes on is because of the fact that I am geared toward making money. Let's not kid ourselves. I want to get the cash. But that's not the point. The whole point is production and productiveness. That's what it's about. It's about creating, making, building. That's the whole key to this. So when I have characters like Stockwell, who is a strong black male lead. And that seems like a cliche to say, but it's not a cliche in truth and reality. Not in novels, not in TV, not in movies. Very, very few. There's a scant amount. They have to have a flaw about them. They have to have some kind of, even the greatest literature. I'm talking about August Wilson, and Walter Mosley. They have to have some kind of flaw about them. They can't be perfectly made moral in a sense of morality. There has to be some kind of drawback to them. And I'm not talking about like an injury or something that can't be corrected, through practicing something in their profession. I'm talking about their ethics and their morals. And the ethics and morals that are on display in this story definitely show a man of color who is about his business and wants to know more and wants to discover more and search for more. That's the case right there. That's what's so important to discover. That's what's so truthful. That's what we have to have in regard to knowing who we are and what we are because of the stories that we read. When you read this story, you're going to be transported into Delaware from Dover to Newark and all around. You're going to want to discover more about this state. In fact, the current motto of the state is endless discoveries. And that's true. There's so many ways that Delaware can be, used as a setting that it just surprises me that more people haven't done it. Look at the surrounding areas. We're called the Diamond State, not just because of ourselves in Delaware, but because of our location to other places. So it's still like almost a knock, almost like a slight against Delaware once again, even though it's saying it's a Diamond State. Because look, we have stories in Baltimore with The Wire comes to mind. You have stories in Philly, the Philadelphia story, Philadelphia. I mean, this goes on and on. New Jersey. How many people are from New Jersey? How many stories are set in New Jersey? It's like, Virginia. You have so many different places like that in Virginia. So I use Delaware as my launching pad as a setting. It gives me the impetus to know that there's actually a state that can be seen as something great, can be seen as something that is whole and wonderful. That's what's so important to me. That's what gets me, the top billing and the understanding. It's the fact that I am, I know for a fact that without Delaware, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't even be the person I am. Now, we say Delaware is boring and corny and all that. It is. It's supposed to be. It's whack, as it should be. But when you put it in a story form, it becomes something else. It becomes, exotic or, has a mystique to it. Because first people say Delaware, W-H-E-R-E, the question mark. Even they sell different souvenirs like that at malls and concourses and stuff like that. So it's fun to me to present my state of Delaware because it's just like Toni Morrison said. There's a book, or in this case, a story that you want to read, but it doesn't exist. You must write it. It is an imperative. It is so true to life that you discover this, that you know what you're talking about, that you know that you have to see this world and these characters and how they interact and have the knowledge of what it means to be a writer. I'm in taking course, master class. I have 3 master classes that were very cheap. This is before they had the monthly plan. But what were they, like $50, $60, something like that? And it's first of all, it was James Patterson, David Mamet, and Aaron Sorkin. And these men, I've read all their works. Some I like, some I really like. But I can see why they're successful writers. Because they draw you in and they leave you in suspense and then they let you go. That's the quality of a writer. No matter what it is, whether it's novels, drama, whatever it may be, screenplays, movies, doesn't matter. The same principles apply. You have to have dedication, you have to have motivation and inspiration. Those are key elements. Those are Marine gunnery sergeant, I think he said, you can inspire, you can motivate anyone, but it truly takes something special to inspire somebody. Those are facts. And that's what I think is inspirational about Ruler of the Kingdom of the Air. It's because it has mysterious elements, it has humorous elements, it has serious elements. And I think that is what makes it special. It makes it a great novel for understanding our times. Recent history, about 35 years ago, hint, hint. This is what it all takes. This is what it takes. It takes time for it to build. I have almost all September, I think until September 27th. Let me make 100% sure. Hold the phone. Give me one moment. I'll tell you exactly. The results don't come in until September 27th, 2023, but the submissions close on September 7th in this year. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with something where I want to be the gold medal winner. I've been bronze, I've been silver. I want that gold. And I know after all the positive feedback I'm getting, even though it's not much, which would help. If this story had 1 million views or reads, it would probably be catapulted into their own. Like, oh, well, if people are reading this, then this must be something of quality. That's not the case in every situation. You have to always think about the opposite. Is it 1 million read story because it's good, or is it good because it has 1 million reads? You got to always question yourself on those notions, on who you are and what you stand for and what you're about. That's what people don't really understand and get. They don't really get it. They don't really understand the fact that there are no one on your shoulders for the problems that go on in the process of writing. No one's in your back. No one's you're the only one at the computer, just like Ernest Hemingway said. What you do with writing is you sit down and you go to, I guess he was saying, the typewriter at the time, and bleed. And what he means is you just give everything you possibly can into creating something that is new and spectacular. New and funny and witty and charming and scary and horrific. As long as it's compelling. That's the main draw. The main draw is that you have to make a work that's compelling and people want to read. That's the issue. That's the main thing. It's like Shakespeare said, the play is the thing. Well, that is the thing too. You have so many people at, fair weather, oh yeah, I'll share it with somebody. I'll share it. I can see the statistics. I see the stats really fast. If they really shared it, I would have serious reads instead of just a few that trickle in here and there. So I'm saying to you right now, there is no way that we can have a setting for us to be in a place of not understanding who we are, what we're about, what kind of ideas we want to share. And that's the thing too. I'm in a minority and a minority and a minority. I'm a young man of color minority. I'm an atheist minority. I'm an objectivist, bigger minority. A more significant minority. And that's what it really is. But this tale is about selfishness. It's about it's about reason, selfishness, and understanding. That's what this whole story is all about. In the future, I plan to rejigger where the narrative goes and who is at the helm. Who's going to drive the story? Excuse me. Who's going to do that? Who's going to be the one that says that there's going to be a way for us to do this? What will it take for us to get to that promised land of millions of reads? Even I'm a Vocal Plus member. Okay? I've said this before. Their CPM, or cost per mil, or how many views 1,000, is $6. So if I made $1 million, I would have $66,000, which is incredible because it's 1 million reads. Why am I not getting at least $500,000? But you have to respect the metrics. You have to respect the fact that this is a fledgling company still. It's not widely known. It's not like YouTube and Google and Amazon and Netflix. It hardly gets any play, but it exists, and it gives away real money. I'm a witness to that. So I can only admit the fact that there's a space for writers who have an idea, but aren't sure it's going to work, aren't sure it's going to go over well with the audiences. I can tell you, just write. I'm trying to remember what, writer said. I think it was Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison said, for those, writers that aspire to write and do it, just start typing "the" and see where it goes. That's powerful information. Because that's look at any library, look at any bookstore, go online, look how many books there are. These are millions of people who did not let writer's block or the squirms or anything like that deter them from creating their stories or their books. Go online, just check, because that's crippling in some cases. People go through writer's block for years. I don't have that problem, thankfully. Thank myself. You know how it is. But when it comes to the idea of someone taking down the sense of what it means to be a writer, it is incredibly true. I'll go back to my years as a student. I didn't want to read. I could read. I read well. But I just wanted to write. I thought you could write without being a reader. And I did well. I did okay. without being that good of a reader, I just wrote. But I found out from my favorite author other than Ayn Rand. I guess he's my favorite living fiction author, Toure. He's he's a journalist, an essayist, and so many other names. Podcaster. Yeah, he said if you want to be a good writer, you got to be a good reader. And if you're not a good reader, every good reader isn't going to be a great writer, but every great writer has to be a reader first. I'm paraphrasing. He said that. That's facts. It woke me up. I read his book. I read other books. Read Ayn Rand's books. Read Troy Star Terrain's book. It's nothing like it. It's a sad shame when I have to think about the people that are illiterate. That's sad. That's really sad because you don't have a clue of the enjoyment and the pleasure and the splendor of reading a good book, curling up with a good book, as they say, on a rainy afternoon with just enough lighting so you can read. That's wonderful. That's great. But people don't, realize that a lot, because I think readership is down, more TV, more movies, but still, the book publishing companies are taking in all these books every year. They're rejecting thousands, but they're probably accepting hundreds and tens. Because that's the thing, people come to me, oh, well, why don't you publish a book? Why don't you publish a book? Publishing a book takes a lot more effort and work and crazy nuts ideas that you have to do. There's a whole list, and there's a long list of what happens. First, you got to write the book. You wrote the book, great. Now you got to revise it. Now it's got to go through an editing process. It's all you. Then you go to their publishing company. They have to revise it. They have to edit it. They have to do all this. And most chances are you have to pay for this. It's not like it's free. That's why you have people that was, the #1 bestseller list. They always have those, and they say, sold 6 million copies or something like that. 6 million because it takes $20,000 to $30,000 just to print the book, just to get it into the hands of people. So it's not. You got to have the cover letter. You got to have you have to have it formatted properly. People don't talk about this a lot. This is what I'm talking about right now because nobody wants to talk about it that I know of. I mean, there might be people talking about it, griping like I am right now, but I'm not about that life. Not yet. Not about that life. So there may be a day where I will publish a book through the traditional, conventional means. But I like this story thing. I like it. Even though I'm not getting a lot of money from it, I'm getting good money. $2,000 plus, tax-free. Hey, I'm already ahead. That gives me a sense of celebration and joy within my spirit. Not mystical, but within my character, with my personality. That gives me that drive that's needed to put the paper, in the typewriter. Even though I'm just saying this is a metaphor. And cut, go away. But now it's, with MacBooks and screens and tap, 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 tap. It's quiet keys. So I just am completely in awe that there are even sites like Vocal.media that show a way of allowing young writers to hone their crafts, to get better at their writing, to win challenges, to win money, to get tips. It's almost like it doesn't make sense. It almost is like it's too, too good to be believed, but you gotta believe it. It's true. It's so good, it's true. That's what the phrase should be, especially in regard to vocal.media. Has to be something that is beneficial and readily available to people that have the chance to understand what they're really doing and how they really want to live their lives. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of writing. That's the beauty of conveying a story. So, ruler of the kingdom of the air. I'll say it again. Ruler of the kingdom of the air. Something that is vital, something that's important, something that's true. I thank you very much for rolling with me. Make sure you check the rebroadcast. I had one person this whole time, and I need my weight up. Thanks again. Take care.